Hi there. I thought I'd show you how to pull apart this Paslode impulse gun, because if you don't know how to look after this, they can be quite unreliable, I found anyway, and it can be a bit tricky to pull it apart after you've done until you've done it a few times. So it means pulling off this head with a piston inside, a cylinder and piston. The battery goes in here, of course. All of this cover here comes off so that you can get at this nail magazine, so that you can clean that out because dirt gets into there. And I'll also show you how to clean the most important thing. That's the little reed valve in here that is the main cause of many of the trouble starting this. So you can either use this supplied Allen key, or for a bit of a quicker job I use this driver, and just undo the 4 screws at the top. Make sure you keep all the screws in one spot, because there are a few that you could lose. Now, to take this out, take this head off, this comes off, that's the filter, make sure that's clean. Take off this control cable, the spark plug cable, that's on quite firm, and pull these out of their groove there, and then this head twists a few degrees, and then you can pull it up. Now, if you rest this on the surface and you wonder why you can't turn this, there are 2 pins that come up. They have to be down before you can turn this, and it comes straight up. Make sure you pull it up straight, because if you bend this fan here, not only does it make a hell of a racket while it turns, but it means you have to replace it. So I wouldn't put it down on the fan. And you can see inside whether your gun is dirty or not, and see in here there's a fair bit of gunk in there on top of the piston. We're not going to pull that piston out, because I find that it's really required. So we pull out this joiner, and then we need to take these 2 screws out here, because that lets go of this bracket that holds these 2 together. I'll take off one and see if that'll do the job. See, now screwdriver a bit. Take the screw off. Now, if this is the first time you pull this apart, I suggest you take photos, because it's easy to forget how things go back together. And then open this up, and there are 3 screws down here that need to be undone. The first one, yes, you can get in there with your Allen key. I've got a better tool here that'll open this really easily. That comes out. then this retaining flange comes out, and then these two screws here also get undone. I suggest you don't use a rattle gun for that, because you can't get into those heads square, and because that clip is in the way. So you've got those undone. Pull those out. That separates this case from the cylinder, and then you still need to undo all of these screws here. Now I've got a driver for this. Let's see, now one of these here. Not too big. That's the one. So I'll take all those out. They're all the same size, so you don't have to worry about those. And this also comes undone. Oops, wrong one. Now, all of this comes off and slides in this groove here. This groove along here, this slides back in there and goes down. If you just do that when you're putting it back together, putting in all your screws, and then you find you have to undo them again because you haven't locked this in. So it needs to go in like that. Take that off, side, and then you can see your workings here. And you can also now disengage. And for a minute. This comes off here. Now, I didn't want to do that just yet, because it's important that you leave this on there first. I'll show you why in a minute. Now, you've got to undo. I'm pretty sure this can stay, from what I remember. And all we need to do is pull off this. No, it has to come off. Otherwise, we can't get at this other side here. That also comes up. And now, don't lose this. I'll show you later where this goes. And this now undoes. That's your depth control. So here's your whole magazine, and here's this. I had hoped to keep this in place. So this pin goes in here, and it tends to fall out all the time. So that's why I keep this engaged if I can. Might as well go the whole hog, and there, that pin is now locked. Okay, now we've got our main, this is the engine that drives this piston. You can see that, push the piston down, there's your driving rod that pushes in the nail, and if you look at this piston rod here, this driving rod, it has two different sides. There's this ridge on this side, and this side is flat, and that's the side, another spring here, that's the side that slides along there. Where have I got some nails here? That's some nails here a minute ago. Oh, here we go. Small nails. That's the side that grabs the nail and hits it there. So that has to go, that obviously has to go towards the back of the magazine. Alright, that's how it goes back together again. That goes in there. Alright. So when this gets put back together, remember that has to go towards the back of the magazine, and it's also, might be an idea if you make yourself a mark on there so that you don't forget. Alright, now
Okay. He's busy. I'll get it.
we now have to get at this reed valve in here, which clogs up so often. So let's undo this. And then these screws have been done up with a bit of Loctite. You can see they've got this orange paint on it. It's very important that they don't come undone while the tool's working. So you've got a couple of parts here. That's the cover with this can come undone. It's actually to prevent sparks from coming out of the tool, a spark arrestor. So you just leave that in there. Unless it's really gunked up, I wouldn't do anything to that. So that goes there, and then we have the reed valve, this part here, which can get really gunked up on you. And if this doesn't, let's see now, if this doesn't seal properly, on its base, that's where you have all your trouble. Now this is glued together quite. There we go. Don't be rough with this, otherwise once you bend this you might buy a new one. That's how it fits. You can see there's dirt under there and a bit of dirt there. There's grease here. So a bit of oil has gotten hard. So I'm going to clean this. So remember, this goes on there, right? Like that. You have a filter here. I suspect that that's also a spark arrestor of some kind. I'm not quite sure what that's for. And I can still look through that quite well. So this can be cleaned with a bit of acetone. Then you have an O-ring here that seals the whole thing, and all of this surface here needs to be clean. So the exhaust pushes against these reeds and lets the exhaust out, and then you have a bit of back pressure from part of this process that pushes the other way and makes sure that the exhaust actually exits. So let's get a bit of acetone. Let's go get some acetone. And let's clean these parts. I prefer using acetone rather than petrol. Throw that in there. Just try and remember. It comes off quite easily, this stuff. If it didn't, I would use very fine wet and dry sandpaper, or I've got a very fine diamond stone here that's many years old, and it isn't too aggressive, and I could run it on there. You see, that's quite dirty there. There's my knife. Oh, here we go. Oops. That's the back side, isn't that important? I wouldn't do this on the front where the reed goes, because you might scratch it. I'm surprised how dirty this got, because it wasn't all that long ago that I cleaned this, and I'm just this gun is working at the moment, but I'm just pulling it apart so you can see how this is actually done. I'm surprised just how dirty this is. So the clean side is the side that we want, and this reed here needs to be completely clean. Alright, that's fair bit of gunk there. I'll rub this over this. That's better. There, that's really good. So remember, that went like that. And we'll just put this there for a minute. Be very careful that you don't do too much rubbing on this, because this falls apart quite easily. Let's see now. That's better. That's better. That goes back in there. This goes on there. Remember, the reeds hang down, a bit like a bunch of grapes, so maybe that's how you can remember whether these go up or down. I remember once putting it up like this, it just didn't work. Okay, and that goes back on there. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna get my, I forgot to, where that came from. I forgot to grab my Loctite, so this out. So I put a little bit of Loctite on here. Don't need much on there. Oops. Now I assume that you've already tried all the usual remedies when your gun stops working, that you've checked that your battery is charged, that you've got plenty of gas in your gun, and even that isn't all that straightforward because you might think that there's enough in there, but what I'll show you later on how to really check this. I don't know how often I've assumed, oh, there's still gas in there, and yet when I try a new cartridge, all at once it works. So it's a bit confusing to know when there's gas in there, enough gas or not. So now let's think. Yeah, put this back together again. Yeah, remember we said about this. This side goes towards the magazine. I might just clean this out. And a bit of acetone on there. Clean this out. This is dirty. And while you're at it, check that these contacts here are clean, because there, the thing that, my battery's charging at the moment, and the battery goes in there, that's where the contacts of the battery go in. And I've had these on an old gun really badly corroded. So make sure that's clean. Charging this battery, I hope it'll go by the time I'm ready to try this gun. So we put this back in there. And this is where this little piece here goes. This goes into there, from what I remember, like that. If you forget to put this in, you're in trouble. This actually works that trigger. So, and it fits into there. See, it goes into there, I'm pretty sure. Like that. Make sure that doesn't fall out on you. Now, there's a spring here. I've got to try and remember where this spring went. And at the moment, for the life of me, I can't remember where the spring goes. But you'll find out. Let's see. Now, remember we had this I think we can put this in after, from what I remember. Okay, that's the way it goes. So this little groove right here, it goes into the top of that opening. Beautiful. That sorts itself out because this goes into that groove there. Alright, that we'll put this back. After we do this, actually, yeah. We can clean this up a bit because that's really filthy. And it's amazing how much dirt collects in here. I might give that a bit of a rinse. That's it. The beauty of using acetone as a cleaner is it evaporates so quickly. So you don't have to worry about all this residue of petrol. The magazine goes, there's our mark on here, that goes in there. Magazine there, and then this goes back Remember that has to slide into there, into that groove. Goes back down like that. And one of these screws, see now, I'm pretty sure it's this one here, the one with the shoulder on it, goes in there. Just put this on temporarily. Now, this little affair here goes into there. There like that, against that switch. Now, I can't remember where this spring went, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. It's been a while since I've done this. Let's put this back in here. It slides into that groove again. And we'll find out. I've got a feeling that this has to do with the trigger. So let's just see where it could be going. Not there. That goes onto something also. What is it? This spring loaded. Oh, hang on. Here we go. There's one spring on the other side. And there's another spring on this side, I think. I think it goes, yes, here we go. Goes into there. And that pushes against that spring just fell out on me, and that's why I didn't know where it came from. But I can see one down in the bottom there. So, and this pushes. I wonder what this pushes against. Interesting. Alright, I'll see what happens. I want to know where this pushes against before I put this back together. Now on the other side, it pushes against I think he pushes against there. No, that's the wrong size, so it doesn't go into that. Slide it there. Put the screw back. Put this in loosely. I found out where the spring goes. There's something broken. So this goes in there like that. Now slide this into there. Now, before we screw this back together again, this hook has to go back in. Now it depends on which way you actually hang this on your tool belt. I like it on this side. I'll show you why. If I have this hanging there, I can grab it like that. If you want to hang it on the other side, this would go the other way around. It would go like that. So that goes there, and I'll put a couple of these screws in. That'll do for now. And this slide, that little protrusion goes to the top, and this slides like that, holds those two together. And we still need to be able to put this back in, and I'm hoping that we can still do this. Slides in like that. Goes in. It's been a year since I pulled this gun apart, and here we go. I'm pretty sure this can still be done. Before this can be done after. There we go. And then we can just wind this back up. Alright. Remember, we need to put in 2 of these screws into there and into there. Two of these up. Yeah. These also have to be done up fairly hard, but I've never put a Loctite on these. I don't know whether they're needed or not. They're also under quite a bit of pressure. That, and then this goes back on. That holds the case to the main body, and the third screw goes in, and that's this one. Right. It works. That all works. Now we've got to put in this part here. These pins hook into this groove down here. So before you put all this back together, make sure this can still come apart far enough for that, for this pin here, for these two hinge pins to go down there. And there. That's it. This screw goes in there. Remember that went on there, and that in there. Do this up later. Now, remember this. Yes, I'm going to have to undo this because this wire here has to go into that groove underneath the red one. And I've closed that off. So I'll have to undo the screw and let that go in there. That's the other side of it. Now this black wire goes underneath, and then the red one goes on top, like that. Then you can put this screw back. Oops. That's it. Now we can put our top back on. Make sure this spins freely, and make sure that the spark plug down there isn't too gunked up. I think I'll give this a little clean. There. Bit of a wipe. use compressed air, but I haven't got the compressor turned on at the moment. It doesn't really matter. There isn't that much residue flying around. There, that looks much better. Alright, now remember that is the gas entry, so that goes to the back, in there like that, and at a bit of an angle, there like that, and then you can straighten it, so like that, and then we put the cables back. Goes on there like that, and spark plug on top. This is quite tight for some reason. I might undo this a bit and see if I can pull that cable up a little bit. It seems a bit tight. Like that. And by the time I've got this spark plug cable on top, it looks to me as though it fits alright. That goes in there, that goes on top. Right. Filter goes on top of that. And then 4 screws here. Just a touch first, and of course I've forgotten something, haven't I? I've forgotten to put this back in again. Let's see if we can do this without. Yes, we can. You have to undo this a bit so it can open a bit. There and there. And maybe we can bend the casing enough so that we can, yes we can, so that we can pop this in. That's it. That works. Alright, now 4 screws in there. Now, I like using this key here for the final tightening because it gives me a better idea of the torque I'm using rather than a rattle gun, which I think is a bit fierce. Alright, that. side. Right, follow that works. This works. Let's see if my battery's charged enough to work this gun. Yes, it is. That, and we've got. Now, here's the thing about gas. You can check whether there's enough gas in there by doing this. But there's both the gas that is the fuel in here, and then there's a propellant in there as well. And when you get towards the end of the fuel, you think, oh, let's see if there's still enough in there. And you push and you think, oh, still plenty of gas, although it wouldn't come out like that. And it's really just the propellant that you're getting, and you're fooled into thinking that there's still enough gas there. So when I store my gun, I don't screw this right down. I always release this to there so that these are in my gun case like that. If I screw that down there like that, there's a real good chance that there's a gradual leak through this valve. By the time you use it again, it'll be empty. So I always wind it up halfway. So I'll put this gun in. Let's put some nails. I've got some very small nails here, which will. I'll take this piece of wood. Let's see if this works. Beautiful. First go. Surprise, surprise, because quite often when you have an old gun like mine, it takes a couple of pushes before it starts working. But it's very satisfying after you've cleaned it that it goes first pop. So, you can see that if you don't clean a gun very frequently, you forget how to do it. And it takes a while for it to come back to you. But if you look at this video, you should be able to take it apart and put it back together again. Good luck.